I'm always going on and on about nice guy syndrome, and I've had more than a few of my female audience and clients kind of complain that I tend to focus on guys a bit too much. And it's a fair complaint because nice guy syndrome is only called that because it was designed by a guy for guys, but people pleasing and the problems surrounding it are universal. Both genders experience it, but they do experience it differently, in my opinion. And so I'm going to dedicate this video to nice girls. I'm going to talk about what they have in common with nice guys and how they're different. Of course, this is all going to be very general, so please don't have a go at me if a few points don't exactly match yours. What I'm just trying to do with this video is acknowledge the nice girls out there and offer some support. Now, I've coached hundreds, maybe thousands, but definitely hundreds of people over the last decade almost. And I've always had a mixture of clients. While most of them have been guys, I've had more than a few women, and people pleasing and nice guy syndrome issues have been universal. And it's been the same approach in terms of building integrity and assertiveness and honesty that helps nice girls as it does help nice guys. But there are some differences. There are some context differences. There are some things that make it different in society when you come from a different gender. So I want to acknowledge some of those in this video. First, let's quickly go over the things that guys and girls have in common with the whole nice syndrome. Covert contracts is one of the key ones. So expecting things from people without asking for it directly and then being disappointed and maybe even punishing them when those things are not delivered. So kind of assuming that everyone thinks like you do, and therefore if somebody doesn't do what you think is the right thing to do, that they're purposefully disrespecting you, and just hoping that people will deliver your needs without having to ask and risk rejection. Being helpful to gain approval and to build your reputation. Everybody does that when they've got the nice syndrome. Being what I call dishonest about a no, which simply means not saying no when it's actually the right thing to say, not rejecting the offers and suggestions and instructions from people that are detrimental to your life, particularly in the workplace, taking on more than you should be, not saying no, not standing up for yourself in terms of your own needs and your own space. Avoidance of conflict, that's universal amongst almost all people pleasers. There are some who are kind of high conflict, but generally they have tantrums and explosions and it doesn't go very well for them. There's very few, if any, hardcore people pleasers, guy or girl, that have healthy confrontations on a regular basis. Submission to authority. Now, the authority can be different depending on gender a little bit. So for guys, the authority is often attractive girls and high status males, whereas for girls, the authority might actually be other girls in the office, for example, that they look up to or who have superiority, or family. But the submission to somebody that you deem to be authority, like treating them like they're always right and treating them better than you treat someone that you look down on, that's common to people pleasing. And of course, tolerating poor treatment in general. I'll talk a little bit about specifics later in this video, but generally, nice guys and girls eat shit from people, right? They suck it up, they pretend that they're okay, that they're not bothered by it, and that's pretty common amongst everybody. Now, I'm sure there's lots of other points. I've put together the notes for this video pretty quickly, but those are just to acknowledge that there's a lot of commonalities between nice guys and nice girls. Again, this is all just being very general. If you're an exception to the rule, please put your gun down. I'm not here to fight you. Now, here are some of the key differences, in my opinion, based on my experience coaching nice girls. Nice girls don't tend to struggle with the friend zone issue as much as guys do. So nice guys tend to get into relationships where they're friends with a girl, but they want so much more, and they get really frustrated that it never happens. Now, nice girls don't seem to have this problem as much. My theory is it's because, in general, when it comes to dating and relationships, girls don't need to directly express attraction to get a guy to make a move, right? So the guy generally will kind of take the risks a lot of the time, or girls can feel a lot safer to kind of lead and dominate guys without having to worry about rejection as much, because let's face it, guys generally have lower standards than women. They're less likely to say no. What a nice girl will do instead, that guys don't do so much, is let a bad fit go too far because you're too agreeable. Now, this can go all the way through to abuse and harassment, but more likely sleeping with a guy you're not really that into, dating a guy multiple times even though you'd rather say no to him, being unable to push back on someone who's kind of invading your space or crossing your boundaries. Nice girls tend to have this problem a lot where they are dominated by dominant guys. And they might sort of want it to happen, but if they're really truthful with themselves, they should have said no quite a few stages back in the process. A lot of the nice girls that I've worked with have come to me for a single problem. They're trying to keep a relationship going that's clearly been fucked for ages. I've had, oh God, it breaks my heart. I've had clients come to me where she's trying to make the relationship work. It's been bad for 3 years, and they've been going out for 3 years and 6 months. Right? A massive percentage of the relationship's been bad, and they just keep trying to patch it together. They keep trying to make it work. They often blame themselves and think it's something they're doing wrong, or they blame the guy, but they think that they can fix him. And this is far less likely with guys. Guys, what they tend to do when the relationship goes sour is they'll sabotage it. They'll basically try to get fired. They don't even really realize they're doing this, but they'll try to get the girl to dump them. Whereas the girl will try to make it work. It's like that sunk cost fallacy. She thinks, I've invested 6 months, I have to make this work, rather than realizing, hey, the first 6 months were an illusion. He was putting on an act, and now this is the real him, and you don't actually like him, and this is not going to work. But a nice girl will just keep trying to make it work, partly because of self-blame and partly because of that sunk cost fallacy. Kind of a cliche one, nice girls like to be attracted to bad boys, whereas nice guys tend to be attracted to girls who are either submissive or bossy. Nice girls, when I say that they're attracted to bad boys, I guess all women to some extent have a bit of a thing for the rock star. But a nice girl, because she's so agreeable, is, like I said in an earlier point, going to let that guy go further. So whereas a confident girl might be like, oh, he's a badass, I'll sleep with him once, but that's it. A nice girl will be like, is he going to call me? She'll become attached very quickly, have that anxious attachment. This is one way to frame it, is that nice guys more often tend to have the avoidant attachment style as their dominant style, which means while they think they want someone close, intimacy actually freaks them out, and they try to keep people at arm's length, and they subconsciously sabotage their social life, even though they feel like they're working really hard on it. Whereas the nice girls tend to have the anxious attachment style, so they cling, they're needy, they tend to repel people because they try too hard, and that's beyond just romantic relationships. They also do it in their friend circle, they do it at work. They're scared of being alone, whereas the nice guy is more scared of intimacy. A kind of specific one I've noticed just in my clients, I don't know if this is general, but nice girls tend to eat shit from their own family. Whereas a nice guy will be a bit more callous and ruthless and distancing himself from toxic family members. Many of my nice guy clients will move overseas or just cut contact or limit contact with family members that's really unhealthy or abusive. The nice girls I work with, they actually keep going back for more. It's like they're trying to repair the relationship. It's like they're hoping that it will one day become the thing they dreamed of. They have a narcissistic mother, and they spend every weekend at their house having dinner, and she's the same bitch that she's always been, and you're trying to make it work and so on. I don't know if it's a female thing, but they tend to be far more reluctant to walk away from bad family members, and far more reluctant to be assertive and ruthless in setting boundaries with family members. Whereas nice guys, I guess, because of the avoidant attachment, are just like, fuck this, I'll bail. I'll bail on blood relatives, no problem. My girl clients, the thing I struggle to help female clients with the most is setting healthy boundaries with family. It's not because it's difficult to do in terms of technique, it's because it's very difficult for them to do emotionally. They're so attached, they're so resistant to the idea that this might not work out, that they're scared to do anything that might permanently end it. But that's the kind of thing you have to do in order to create healthy relationships. But they tend to really struggle with that. Because it's not all about negativity, there's strengths, and nice girls tend to be more socially intuitive than my guys. Which is actually kind of tragic, because nice guys are just blind socially. They make these stupid mistakes socially because they don't see what's really going on. The friend zone's a great example for that. Like, why won't she make a move? It's like, dude, you've got to make the move, and the window of opportunity closed many months ago. A girl would have seen that straight away. The problem, and breaks my heart really for nice girls, is they simply don't trust their instincts, even though their instincts are right. So they'll be like, oh, this person's probably a bad fit for me. I probably shouldn't be friends with this person. I think my boss is a bully. But they'll doubt themselves and allow that behavior to keep going. They're actually intuiting it correctly. They're like, I've got a bad feeling about this guy or this girl. And they're right, but they doubt the bad feeling and allow, they'll justify it. They'll justify it to themselves. They'll talk themselves through it. A nice girl client of mine, for example, had a boss that bullied her for like a year and a half, and she keeps going like, what am I doing wrong? It's like, a boss shouldn't bully you even once. The boss is the problem, clearly. And you knew that, but then after you knew that, you came back around and said, no, maybe it's me. So I see that happen a lot. So they've got a strength of social intuition, which, with my help, they can turn into a mastery level expertise. But because they doubt it, they never really get to benefit from that strength. The girls tend to self-sacrifice more strongly than the guys do, and they're proud of it. A classic example I see is in the mothers that I've coached. They will destroy themselves to give everything to their kids, and they think that's a good idea. They're actually very proud of it and very resistant to any challenge to that, despite the fact that opinion and research clearly shows that that's not in the best interest of the child. They will fight for it. They'll say, that's actually a strength of mine. I'm glad I do it. Like, it's kids. You've got to give everything to your kids, And it's not just about children. They'll do it at the office. They'll do it for their partner. They'll do it for their friends. They'll break their backs for other people and then, like, wear a badge of honor about it, right? Despite the fact that nobody's really winning from the situation. I think girls tend to suffer from false humility more than the guys do. Nice guys actually like to pretend that they're modest, but they humble brag a lot. They like to slip out their strengths in some indirect way to try and get praise for it. Whereas the girls I work with fight actively to pretend that they're not strong. I think this one's largely a social conditioning issue, the kind of difference between how boys and girls are raised. A girl's far more likely to be shit on for praising herself than a guy is, and ironically by other women. From my experience, especially in the workplace, the biggest barrier to a girl being self-promoting is other girls in the office, from what my clients tell me and what the research shows as well. So you get this kind of false humility that they don't even know is dishonesty. A lot of my female clients will downplay their strengths. Every time I point out that they were strong in something, that they did well in something, they go, yeah, but blah, 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 and they fight against it. Whereas the nice guys tend to be like secretly proud of it because they were bragging the whole time anyway. This one's not that common, but I had to call it out. Generally, my guy clients have better same-sex social circles than my girl clients do. My nice girl clients tend to, but not always, either have very few good female friends or they're only friends with guys. They seem to struggle with the female-to-female friendship dynamic, and the friends they end up with are either superficial or kind of abusive and not healthy for them, or there's just very few girls that they can connect with well, and like they just don't see eye to eye with other girls very well, and they find groups of girls intimidating. Probably my guess from high school experiences, that kind of cliquey female bullying that's specific to high school girls. They just want to stay away from that. A lot of nice girls, they fell into groups of guys as friends because guys are kind of straightforward. You know where you stand. They don't have emotional kind of conflicts and vengeance and stuff that you get with teenage girls, so it's safer. It's easier to navigate. A lot of nice girls are actually on the autistic spectrum and they have no idea, because it's actually quite hard to see and diagnose with females, things like Asperger's. So they struggled socially and they just didn't really know why. They just didn't get it. But they can often fall into groups with guys because guys are kind of stupid and underdeveloped compared to girls, and therefore easier to get along with, frankly. It's the truth. What can I say? My girl clients are more interested in love than sex. So my nice guy clients, at least when they first come to me, are quite often obsessed with sex or getting laid in some aspect. Even if it's not really sex they want physically, they want it kind of socially. They want to be able to say they can do it. And, they have that as their primary goal before their other goals. And partly a fear of intimacy means that they'll prioritize sex over relationships. Whereas my female clients, let's face it, it's not that hard for a girl to get laid if she really wanted to. Okay, it's even if a guy had no standards, it's still hard for him to get laid in general, especially when he has, struggles, socially speaking. But when you've got an anxious attachment style, you're far more interested in trying to find and keep a partner who will love you and provide endless love so that you don't feel alone. And so my nice girl clients tend to fixate on that. Their fear of loneliness is kind of stronger than their horniness, in my opinion. Nice guys tend to go into the fixing category. They like to fix everybody else's problems while avoiding being fixed. They push back on help. Nice guys don't like to receive help very much. There's not all of them, there's categories, but probably a majority of them like to fix without being fixed. My nice girl clients, they like to caretake and become codependent. So they quite like creating a relationship where you need each other. So they will receive help quite happily because it creates a kind of like, I need you, and that kind of keeps you a little bit, and that's a bit subconscious. And then, of course, caretaking, they like to be needed. Nice guys like to fix, but being needed is actually a bit of a shaky topic because it's right next door to intimacy. So they're always walking on eggshells when it comes to being needed. But being helpful, being fixable, being the fixer who comes in and solves problems and then bails again, they like that. Whereas the women generally tend to want to stick around and want to do that codependent thing, so it creates like a bond. My guy clients tend to struggle to confront at all. So they don't even want to get things started. Their fear of rejection and embarrassment means that they just don't speak their minds. And that's true also for my female clients. But my female clients tend to more struggle with the fear that they're going to break emotionally when they confront. So they're worried about crying, quite specifically, and looking weak, female weak. They're worried about the kind of social stigma there. So they struggle to confront because they're worried that they'll look like a weepy girl kind of thing. They bring that up a lot. Whereas the guys tend to struggle to confront because they're worried about the outcome. They're worried that they'll lose the argument, look stupid, not get what they want, and so on. The women tend to be primarily focused on how they'll be perceived emotionally, whether or not they'll be respected because of the way they react emotionally. They're not as outcome focused as the guys. False positivity. So nice guys do this as well, but it's a kind of classic weapon for nice girls is put on a big smile and act like you're happy all the time. And this is, I think, again, social conditioning towards females. They're told to be friendly and happy and nice all the time, whereas guys get more of a pat on the back for being angry and surly. You're allowed to be angry as a guy. You're allowed to be a bit rude and put on a staunch, tough face. Again, this is very culturally specific, depends where you are in the world and so on. But generally that's the case with nice guys, is they do the poker face thing, whereas nice girls tend to put on the big smile and, let the teeth hide the depression kind of thing. And lastly, and this is the one that like really slays me personally, nice guys are more likely to get masculine coaching. Nice guys are more likely to like, all right, I need a kick up the ass. I need someone to tell me what the fuck I'm doing wrong and, call out my shit. And so they'll go towards masculine style coaching, which is what I do. So shameless self-promotion here, but I do it because it works. Whereas females tend to come to me and they've already been in therapy for 5 years with the same therapist. They've already been getting the feminine approach to what is a problem that needs to be solved with a masculine approach. The feminine approach works for those kinds of issues, right? If self-acceptance is your real issue, if making peace with the world, if you require nurturing, then the feminine approach is absolutely what you need. But nice guy / girl syndrome is not something that's solved with the feminine approach, in my opinion, and I do believe I'm an expert in this topic. The masculine approach, you need to get your shit together, you need your beliefs challenged, you need to get uncomfortable with your behavior, you need to start throwing your weight around a little bit and be a little bit more disagreeable and so on in order to break out of this people-pleasing disease. And unfortunately, this is just the truth. It's not self-promotion, it's just the truth. But nearly every time I've had a female client who's done many years of therapy, when she has a session with me, she'll say, I got more out of that session than all of the therapy combined. And that's not even a particular testimonial for me personally, though I am good at what I do. It's just that they've been doing something that doesn't work. So of course, a single masculine focus session is going to be better than doing something that doesn't work. nice guy syndrome, nice girl syndrome, it doesn't need to be explored, and what happened in your childhood and what's your relationship with your mother, that's actually not all that helpful. What's really helpful is what the fuck are you going to do about it? How are you going to step up? What are your real values? What are you doing that disappoints you? How do you stop doing that? It's all active, move forward facing. It's not so much about why it happened, it's what you're going to do about it. So, of course, get in touch with me if you want some of that action. But I just wanted to really put this video out there to acknowledge that there is a difference, that nice girls exist, that they are a thing, that they have their own nuance, they have their own commonalities and traits and generalities when it comes to this. And I do see you, and I know you exist, and I acknowledge you, and I want to help you as much as I can. I do believe that even though I kind of market to nice guys and I say guy all the time, the stuff I put out there should help you as well. All right, it should be as helpful almost at least as it is to a guy. I just speak to guys because if I said nice people all the time, nobody would know who I'm talking to. You know, it's just a marketing thing. It's one of the downsides of business. You have to talk that way to get people's attention. But any of the stuff I put out there that has nice guy in the title, have a look at it because it will apply to you too, and hopefully it will help. Thank you so much for watching. Hope that helps you feel acknowledged. If it pisses you off, chuck it in the comments. I'll address it. I'm always willing to learn more. I'll see you next time.